This is the Infinity Summit Group. Truth, passion, success.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Infinity Summit Group podcast. Today is March 21st, 2022, and we figured we would start bringing our guests back on around their one-year anniversaries and just kind of see where they've come from since the last time they've been on and kind of go from there, see how they're doing in life, what they're doing, what their plans are for the future, things like that. And we'll just be starting with our first guest today, Jacob. But without further ado, let's jump into it. I'm Noah.
Xavier.
Logan.
Jesse.
And
I'm Jacob.
Yes.
Yes, welcome.
Surprise.
Thank you for coming.
Thank
The
you.
Wanderer.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. What is new?
I'm just having to
What
turn my
is
headphones
new?
up. Yeah, thank you.
What is new?
Yes.
Well, let's think. I've been trying to make a shift from. I think it's well known that I talk absolutely constantly. I've been attempting to slow that down some and also put more to practice the things that I talk about than talking about them. I've been trying to get a ratio up where I actually talk less about the things that I'm doing than I do them. Do you know what I mean?
Why?
Why? Because words end up feeling a bit empty outside of the actionary part of it. So, I mean the principle might still be there, but it doesn't really matter if I don't have any sort of I have some partial understanding of it, enough to speak on it, but not a deep enough understanding to legitimately teach it like I talk about it. Do you know what I mean?
Like speaking from experience kind of thing?
More being in it and understanding it from an initial perspective rather than just intellectually.
Interesting.
So you're trying to just lead by example and let other people see what you're doing?
Yeah, and then if it's good enough, they might pick it up, and if not, then I understand. Yeah.
What are you doing that's different?
What am I doing that's different?
Like you're trying to have people like notice.
Oh, yeah. A number of things. Mainly it would be like right action in the sense of conduct, like how I present myself and how I act in relation to other people and with myself more than anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. What does it say, bitch?
I'm listening.
Okay, sure. Well, anyway, so yeah, I think a lot of it is kind of finding that. A lot of it for me has been this year has been finding a better repertoire with myself, like my personal relationship with me. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a lot of more internal stuff. I've been doing some writing, not as much as I'd like. In the future, you were talking about future goals. That's one of my plans. Is I'd like to put out a book or two this year, even if they're just small mementos of things that I'm thinking about, just to get the ball rolling more. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Try and make it more of a daily practice rather than a few times weekly.
Like poetry books or actual?
Both. Just
Life
thought
books.
works. Like a lot of things probably surrounding philosophy and things like that, because I tend to gravitate more towards what would you say, more untangible goals, like physically tangible. Do you know what I mean?
Are you just going to self-publish those, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I was thinking, yeah. And then if I end up doing one of the works that I feel I would like to push to publication or use those as a platform and a jumping place to have that experience behind me. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You start a blog.
I could.
That's somewhere
It's
to
actually
start
not
out.
a bad idea. I thought blogs were kind of dead though.
Yeah, but you could still have one. People
Yeah.
still go to them occasionally. It's just not like what it used to be.
Yeah.
Or a
Give the
YouTube
people a
channel where you
reason to go to it.
talk about what you're thinking. People like that stuff.
Yeah.
Or
people
those
what
little
they want.
shorts. I've seen a lot of those, on like Instagram or
Yeah.
the whole TikTok type video.
Mhm.
But like small
Yeah.
little bits, and then it gets them hungry for more.
Yeah. More content. I think that wouldn't be something that I would be averse to. Do you know what I mean? But I haven't directly dove into that type of a realm yet, but I've considered it, but not in any detail. So
Can I ask you a question too? You don't have
Yeah.
to answer this, but what philosophy do you kind of stick by, like agree with the most? Because I feel like when I talk to you, it's like a lot of ideas,
yeah,
a lot of like this
Mhm.
could be possible, this could be possible. Give it
Mhm.
all like a thought, but nothing like, okay, this is what I'm actually
yeah, I guess.
about.
So the reason being is because the things that I hold substantially are actually kind of I kind of have a grab bag from different philosophies. Like I don't subscribe to one or the other, so it would be more of an individuated one, which is why it probably seems the sense of like I have a bunch of ideas that seem generally unconnected, but I've kind of conglomerated them into something of like what I perceived to be the best of each thing that I dipped into. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But that feeling also probably comes from the fact that I'm not a very commitment based creature. I think it comes with trait openness, with with a lot of people that are extremely extroverted.
Mhm.
It's a general trend. So yeah, a lack of commitment to things. I don't like to feel like I'm too locked into things, which you all know very, very well. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, we're familiar with it.
Vaguely.
But yeah,
We're both familiar and unfamiliar, right? We can't be committed to the familiarity of how he is.
Why though?
I had to.
Why?
You switched jobs,
yes.
or you switched at least shops.
branches. Yeah.
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 And got a pay raise.
Yes.
From what I understand.
Yes, it was in a very odd and roundabout way, but it ended up working in my favor. Yeah.
That's excellent.
I think on a broad scale, most things do. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
In the long term, like short term things end up feeling more like a grievance.
Mm-hmm.
But those tend to be the things that you look back on and be like, oh, okay, I can see why that was something that happened and was needed for my growth, or so that I could have a new perspective or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like Kevin James as your manager more?
Yeah, I actually work more directly with David, who is the new branch manager over there, or just the manager at that branch, and he started the same day I did, so it was an interesting experience. Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, they're all pretty awesome over there. Pretty good work environment. You know what I mean?
Sweet. I hated it.
Yeah.
I absolutely hated it over there.
Why?
Because it's messy and a fucking clusterfuck.
Yeah,
I
my
hated it
literal
bad.
first week and a half was I came in there. I was slack jawed and flabbergasted. I was like,
It's
going
disgusting.
from Sandy to there. I was like, there's absolutely no way this is real. Like, yeah. Anyway, so my first week and a half was literally cleaning up everything.
Yeah, it's gross over there.
Yeah, I
It's
whipped
like
it.
they've never touched any, like the trash cans are overflowing. No one takes it out. It's not even worth going there.
Yeah,
But
it's a lot better now since I was over there. Because David came in, they moved him in from California, so he had a lot of experience in that field already, and he was like, all right, this is not happening. So me and you are going to make this whole shop not look like a cluster. So
yeah, it's gross.
yeah, a lot better now. Not
bet,
bad at all,
yeah.
yeah. But yeah, that's new. Let's think. Was I? Yeah, I wasn't in this house a year ago. I'm not sure if we've talked
No, you
about it
weren't.
at the podcast, but I've also moved twice probably in the last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you live here at one point?
Here?
Not this house.
No.
Talking about the new
I
one he
mean,
lives in.
Damn
yeah.
nigh, huh?
Yeah, no, I've spent a lot of time here. Yeah, I think the moving, because I moved to Harriman and then I moved to Riverton. So yeah,
Mhm.
that was all within a year.
I forgot about the house,
Yeah,
the Herman house.
me too, pretty much, honestly. It
Fuck.
was,
It was so irrelevant.
yeah, it was a quick snapshot for sure.
Yeah. Are you still trying to buy or looking into getting cargo container homes?
So I'm not as focused on it. No, I still have it as like a faint wanting. Do you know what I mean? But especially with like the prices being hiked up since Costco and everywhere started buying them up, and everything's short on productionary standards and things from international huggabaloo. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I've been looking into still a lot of alternative living things, just because that's something that that draws me, because it's kind of having something and it's a lack of commitment. Like it's cheap, so I could feasibly do it and not find myself in a long-term situational debt. And then also it's maneuverable. Like the alternative housing options tend to be more maneuverable. Like you can move them wherever. So
Have you looked into like a trailer home?
yeah, but the aesthetic of that for some reason I like. I suppose it's a possibility, but I haven't looked into that
Just
in
know-
any.
I was looking at homes the other day, and they're like 50 grand. I mean, they're not the nicest homes ever, but it's a home, and you
Yeah.
can move them.
Yeah.
The what houses?
Trailer homes.
I actually thought about that too. It's really not bad. I mean, some of them look pretty nice inside.
I've seen some of them that were real nice.
They're not
for, like,
shitty.
No.
I wouldn't want to buy one, really. Like, it would never be my first option, but it was way nicer than I thought they would be.
Yeah, but I also I'm sure you all know this, but for some reason I have the tendency to seek the lesser of things. Like if there's an option between a gold and a silver bar, I would be choosing silver.
Why?
I don't know. It's that's not a good example. Like
No, it's true.
I mean it's a fair example, but it's
From
not
what
the
I've
best
seen,
example.
it seems like fear of loss almost.
Not fear. I think it roots in that commitment as well, where it's like, if I can have, I only want to have what I need minimally, so that I'm sure it is tied to that loss as well, but when those things are taken away inevitably, or when you don't have those things, it's not something that I'm relying on as a necessity.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So then even in whatever situation or circumstance I find myself in, I'd have enough. So it's kind of like a minimalistic point of view, I guess, in some sense, but I think it's rooted in something more, what would you say, something more akin to some sort of psychological damage, where I just kind of go for the lesser of the two, because I think it's because, yeah, probably from that loss where I'm like, if it's,
It's less painful to lose something that's not as valuable.
yeah.
It's like you lived through the Great Depression, and now you hoard the most random shit, and the valuable shit is like, nah, bro. Why'd I take that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Who hurt you, Jacob?
me. No, probably a lot of me hurting myself. People do that often. Just placing obstacles in their way. I don't know. I don't know where it stems from exactly, but it probably roots from a lot of things. Namely, that comes to mind probably the way that I handle relationships as well. So, yeah. Regardless, yeah, not a whole lot is new. I wouldn't want to overstate my progression in any sense. That's for certain.
What books have you read
What books have I read?
Yeah, that'd have been life-changing.
that you liked?
Like the Red Book or whatever that was.
Yeah, that was lit, but I won't go into a spiel like that again, because I even listening back on that was like, good God, that's just the driest thing since the Sahara Desert.
Yeah, it's
Anyways.
painful.
Anyways,
It's
yeah.
fun, though.
It's all right.
There's
We've had a few.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's this book from it's Carlos Castaneda. It's kind of steeped in a lot of there's a lot of books from him, and I listen to most of them. It's steeped in a lot of what would you say?
Is that the Mescalito one?
Yeah, a lot of
Oh,
cultishness
Jesus.
and like it talks about shamanic practices and things like that, but the person that wrote it, didn't have a lot of favorable light shed on him it sounds like for a good reason. But actually, this is a discussion that I was wanting to have with you specifically, Noah. Do you think that good knowledge or facts or deeds are lessened by the person that they come from, or can they stand alone?
Yeah, they can stand alone.
So, like,
Mhm.
yeah, all right.
Separate.
Yeah, I think that as well, but do you think it tarnishes it in any significant way because of the perspective and the thing that it came from?
It can if you let it, yeah.
If you let it, I suppose, but yeah. I'm saying, I guess, do you think it's inbred in any way to their work?
The thing is that when you find concepts of truth and knowledge and wisdom like that, doesn't matter the source. Period.
Which I agree with, but my thing would be, do you think it's tainted in any way because it comes from that person's perspective? Not that I think that they're less in any way. I think people are just people. Everyone has that capability, but
No, because it gets set through your own filter.
yeah,
You
certainly.
take away the taint and figure out exactly what truth is there.
Yeah,
Easy as that.
fair enough. Yeah, well,
I didn't
yeah,
do any
so
research into that author, by the way.
I did.
So tell the audience, of course, kind of what these books were about. You kind of
I'm hesitant because because last time I literally just shoved a bag full of sand down someone's throat. So let's see.
Go for it. Maybe someone wants to read it after.
I do have a question first.
Maybe
What
someone
is
likes sand, okay?
what is a shamanic practice?
So
You know what a
what
shaman is?
a shaman is
Yeah.
like it's just the practices that the shamans deal with pretty much whatever it is they do spiritually or actionably. A lot of it was based, like for that book, a lot of it was based in like herbalism and psychedelic substances and different things like that. I thought it was very interesting because it kind of it gave a new perspective on kind of a very directed form of existence in like a very extremely masculine way. Do you know what I mean? Like pretty much you make everything happen in the world, which is
true.
Which is a, what would you say? Which is an underlying tenet in a lot of books, but the way that this went about it was in a very different way of like a self-exploration and like a, what would you say? It was just very alternative in the perspective that it gave. There was a lot of kind of the idea of like isolation being a goal. Like you should be steadfast in yourself, yes, but also you should literally need nothing. And you should make all of the boons in life from yourself. So yeah, it was very interesting. I'm going about it very, what would you say, peripherally, because I think that a lot of the content would turn people away when there's very, like, it was a very gripping book. It like, narratively speaking, it was one of the most gripping books that I've read, just because it tied me in so quickly with kind of what the promise of the book was. Like, you're going to gain this thing that is immutable, and take your own will into your hands. Yeah, it was very interesting, and the way that it was employed too, like the taking your own will into your hands was more of a like throwing yourself out into the unknown and being in complete and total, what would you say?
Like you are
Danger.
your own creator?
You want me to put this
It's
into?
not
You want
necessarily.
me to put this into easy speak? Okay,
Go ahead.
it's a book about ayahuasca and peyote and the interworkings of how the soul reacts to those and the things you can discover throughout your journey of taking those psychedelics.
Which books of his?
Properly guided by a shaman, basically, is the ones that I read.
Yeah.
I don't know what his other books are about, but there's like a 3-part series that I read about it. It was interesting.
Yeah.
The rest of the books are similar, but they drop the psychedelics and those type of things, and it's more like those, and it's kind of shown in a regressive way that the reason that the shaman was having him take those is because he didn't learn how to perceive those things outside of help from some type of substance, which was a very interesting thing. I think it's talking about like discovering your subconscious, like those type of things put you very, like it takes down that barrier between conscious and subconscious mind in a very real way. So you don't actually, you interact with it directly, like in a worldly sense, like you see or feel or experience your subconscious on like a personal level, which is very interesting. So, but yeah, anyways, I think that's what it was talking about. So it wasn't all like those first ones that you read were the psychedelics, and I would say probably the majority of his work was that, but afterwards it was kind of a regressive look back on, we actually had you do that so that you could see past those things with the help, so you can do it without it. So it was pretty interesting. But yeah, that was the synopsis, I suppose.
What's the difference between a priest and a shaman? Or at what point does a priest become a shaman?
One touches kids.
I knew that was coming. That was the first thing I thought of too.
I couldn't give you a direct definition, but I'd imagine it's
Shamans don't generally belong to a religious practice.
yeah, like not a secularized religion. It's more of a tribal.
More
You have a
of,
tribal
tribal
shaman.
native stuff, yeah.
When are you gonna try ayahuasca and peyote? Because I feel like hallucinogenics are like
It's your
your
vibe,
passion
bro.
in life,
I
and I think that
I
that
enjoy
would
them
really
heavily.
like make you as a person if you tried them both. So what is holding you back? Because I know that you want to go out of country
Yeah,
to do it.
absolutely.
What is holding you back?
What is holding me back is I just haven't done the work, like in the sense of I would like to do more research not for worry of health side effects. I'm not worried about that, but I'd like to know kind of the history behind it and all sorts of cool stuff. And then I also need to set up like a financial plan and things, and a forward moving plan where I'm like, okay,
A financial
this is
plan,
what-
eh?
Yes, I know. I was dreading it. That was another thing I was going to say this year. I'm growing more or less cold feet towards it. I'm getting more in the place where I'm like, okay, I need to do this because I want to pursue passions like that. But yeah, it's not any hesitation for the want of doing. It's just the hesitation of that commitment so far. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Which is something that that's one of the things I wouldn't be afraid to commit to. I wouldn't mind to try all of those things. I really like perception alteration.
Yeah. Why not just let the drug tell you its own history?
I could absolutely do that, but honestly, more of what it was me not scheduling financially and what would you say, trip wise. So
Yeah.
Where do you have to go to do that?
They what ayahuasca or peyote?
Both, whatever.
So there's some. I don't know where you'd have to go for peyote, but I know that ayahuasca in South America, there's a lot of places where they'll do a whole guided trip. You just pay them and they do the whole trip, everything. They give you housing, boarding, whatever. So but that also comes along with the whole shamanic practice, which I want to experience along with it. I would do ayahuasca singularly, but I would rather do it with
a guide.
with the whole experience, yeah, because I think that would be very interesting to see what the differentiation or what the I guess what the hype is.
A lot of people will do. I don't know which order it goes in, but they'll do peyote and then ayahuasca, like one each day, and it kind of just like seals the deal on the whole experience. So I think that would
in
be.
what way? What do you mean? Like
Like-
when they're there on the trip or whatever, they do alternating or
Yeah, so like say you're gonna do ayahuasca on Friday,
Mhm.
and then you go through the whole trip, whatever, and then Saturday you do peyote, and it kind of, from the YouTube videos that I've seen and podcasts that I've listened to about it, it essentially kind of just forms into one, like a full ball kind of, instead of
Experience.
just like a half
it kind
half-ass
of
one.
solidifies, I guess what it's saying is it kind of solidifies the experience, because a lot of times with at least the trips that I've been on, it seems to be very ethereal and dreamlike, and so you can lose a lot of that in your following sobriety if you don't ponder it.
Yep.
Or if you don't write it down or anything like that. So I'd imagine that's what that's talking about. It sounds badass. So I'd never
Yeah.
heard of that.
Yeah, they do it. The guided trips and all that. That would be one hell of an experience. Cool.
I'd definitely do that.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
Would
Hell,
you,
I would do that.
Would you do DMT?
Speak to the aliens.
I personally would, but I would like to explore every herbal process before that, because from what I've heard, there's a lot of it's very rocket ship versus roller coaster type of a thing.
Yeah, I've known a lot of people that have actually done it, and I've talked to them, and it's insane. That's the pinnacle, like of all of the psychedelics that you can try.
That's what the active substance is in almost all of them, right? Is the dimethyltryptamine.
Yeah.
Trip.
That'd
To
be
me.
Crazy.
Crazy.
You're already a fucking dad. Okay, whatever.
What do you know?
But yeah, I guess that's a brief synopsis. I'm trying to think if there's anything.
What
Like,
other
of
what other
note.
kinds of books have you read? And
Hmm,
experiences you've had? Anything during this past year?
experiences that I've had.
Took a shit ton of weed.
I did.
You cut out alcohol for like the most part.
Oh yeah, I don't drink. Well, drinking doesn't have any sort of allure to me. It just because a lot of people use it for a social lubricant, but obviously I can't keep my fucking mouth shut anyway, so that wouldn't even change much for me.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I don't often drink.
No, you never have struggled with that. There was a year where we
Oh.
all went a little wild with it, and then we all kind of just cut the shit out and mostly stick to weed now. So why?
Why? I enjoy personally. Like I've actually picked up weed a lot more than than I would say I intended to. I like a lot of things about it, but it tends to flavor life in a very specific way.
I would say it doesn't make you feel like shit like alcohol does as well.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dear
There's
Lord.
also that the not the tomorrow backlash as much, but on a long scale, it can still have that backlash.
Oh, it definitely
because
does.
It puts you in kind of a bog. Do you know what I mean? Where you're slowed in whatever you're doing.
You're hazy.
Yeah. But
So why do you do it? Does it bring peace to you? Does it just make everything more flavorful in a way?
it kind
What's
of
your goal with
spices
it?
up. It's a spicing up type of a thing. Like it gives you new eyes on old experiences. So it kind of gives you like that childlike wonder of seeing things for seeing things for the first time again. It's all kind of new, which I enjoy. I meditate on it sometimes because it slows my mind down enough that the chatter's quieted. But yeah, like I said, it wasn't an intended function, which is why I will likely slow down on it in the future. But yeah, I am planning another trip even so soon though. Not to somewhere. Yes,
Shrooms.
Yes.
Okay, I was gonna say, huh?
Yes, what was it? 2 Sundays ago, I was sitting there and I was like, okay, turns out it's time. I don't know why it happens like that, but I will often feel before a trip is going to happen in advance. I'm like, oh, no, I'm going to do this.
I have that same feeling. You're like, yeah, I think I need this.
Yeah.
Or like you just feel like you could gain something from it.
Mm-hmm.
I know what you mean by that. It's weird. I haven't had that for a while, actually. Like even now, I have no desire to do it at all.
Oh, really? Yeah. So it's, but I will say it's not like the desire to do a hallucinogenic for me has never been like the desire to smoke or to drink or to indulge in any way, because it's not something that you're like, you do it and then you're like, let's go round 2. It's like, oh, okay, I'm good. I'm good for maybe forever, but that forever ends up being pretty short. I've had a fair skew of time between each trip, I think, but yeah, I think it's something that I'd like to get into a lot more, like diversifying, trying the different ones, and seeing maybe writing on each one of my experiences in like a very in-depth way to see what the differentiation between them is and what I actually gained from it. You know what I mean? Because a lot of it is imprecise language around it. You'll have, cause it's very hard to explain a psychedelic experience to someone that's never had one, or even sometimes to people that have had one. What is happening during?
Well, you can't.
Yeah.
It's fully personal, I believe.
It's fully personal, but I think that there are ways that you can maneuver around it to make, you know what I mean, to articulate something assimilating what happened.
But
you know what I mean? Or what you gained. Or
how I say it is, it's like trying to describe a flavor of a candy or something that no one has ever tried before.
Yeah, it's like a new color.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very hard description type of thing, but I think there are ways to go about it where you can flail around about it and like around it and get to some of it, and obviously you won't get it in full comprehensive detail, but that's just a language barrier thing. You'll never be able to do that with anything. So
you know what I'd love to see is a lot more research on psilocybin and DMT and all these things.
There's a ton.
there's
There's
starting
a
to
ton,
really-
but they probably haven't even scratched the surface of how much it affects your brain and what pathways it opens.
I know they already have ones that are like if you have PTSD, like 90% of people that take it after having PTSD or get over their PTSD within a couple of days.
Yeah,
or
no,
stuff.
that was actually mushrooms.
Yeah, just a bunch of shit like that they do, I know.
Yeah, it's
It
very
gave me
interesting.
PTSD, so that's weird.
Do you feel, in retrospect, do you feel you gained anything from that experience though? Now that you've had some distance from
Gained some friends.
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Energetic, outside of the energetic field, like for you specifically, like was there anything that it changed in you that you previously had, things that you lost or gained, or?
I'd say an appreciation for life, because watching your soul fall through the earth is like, damn. Okay,
You had a scared straight experience.
I would say so.
I have had a very, very different experience with it, but
I wonder if it's. I'm just wondering because everybody's mind's different, and some people like have a lot not more active mind, but a lot more of a sporadic mind. You know, just all over the place, always.
yeah, but
doing that.
I would say, me specifically, just you can tell by my language patterns. It's very similar in my head that way, but I don't think that is affected. Well, no, I'm assuming that actually has something to do with it, but my trips have never been imposing in any way.
That's
really.
what I'm saying though.
Yeah.
Everybody's like on a different like plane. So I'm wondering what type of brains psychedelics work with the best. Because some people, like him, they don't like it at all. Like he had a completely bad, experience. And
I would also say that I think it might have a lot to do with your relationship with existence, like how you conceptualize and how you go towards it. You're a very forward moving person. You act on the world. I let the world act on me more. Do you know what I mean? Like in the sense that you're more in control of your life than I am. I kind of go more with the flow and not there's pros and cons to each, obviously. Do you know what I mean? We both know what those failings and boons are, but I would imagine that a lot of it has to do with that because you get very close with your mind in that moment where you kind of don't have that option of singular control in the way that you usually have it. You're still in control, but it's in a very roundabout and ethereal kind of way, I think. So I think I wouldn't use the word ethereal there, but that's what I did use for a descriptor. So
I don't even know what that is.
Like
kind
ghostly?
Of, yeah. Yeah, not in the physical realm, a little bit, like on the spiritual side of things more. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, what's your goal?
My goal?
Or goals?
My goals? Yeah, I would like to go into my writing practice in earnest. That's always been a very big goal, but I haven't acted on it as heavily as I would like to. Still to some degree, you know what I mean, but nothing like I envision or want. So a lot of that, I did want those trips in my life before I died, but I hadn't articulated it as a very directed thing beforehand. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So probably some of that. I'd like to travel some, but yeah, my goals aren't. Yeah, my goals are more personal achievement based. You know what I mean? In the sense of like it would be more of an achievement for me, even if there was the monetary success around it. It would be more of like okay, I finally put down something that's going to create value. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So you want to just create value for other people, starting with yourself first. Mm-hmm. Okay.
The way I go about it is obviously going to be a very different way than you, but like for me, I think that avenue would be writing.
Well, even with the trips, like that could give value to a ton of people.
Yeah. And if I documented like my experience or what I think could be gained and what it actually is, yeah.
Yep, then you could write about and share your experiences with people. Even start a YouTube channel like Jesse said.
Yeah. I'm definitely not opposed to it.
Streaming while you're tripping.
No, I've actually done that, like video.
Oh, really?
It's cool because it helps.
There's a couple channels that do it. The people stream while they're on their trips, which is very interesting.
I wouldn't stream it. It was like, even for personal records, but it's like meeting yourself in that different place.
Perspective, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of cool.
I haven't stream tried
and
have people donate and see if you could answer questions.
That would be awesome. I could. Like,
What's 2 + 2? Mountain.
I actually don't feel very outside of myself when I'm on mushrooms. I feel a lot more
Maybe
sober and
taken
grounded
enough?
personally. I think that could be part of it. I don't usually take heroic doses. I don't go very very deep, which is something that I would like to try, but it's more on the, like, I feel like I get a lot of the things that I want from it with still the lower dose, so I'm you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I would definitely like to try some more higher dose trips.
I would say instead of like when people say you're like blasting off into space, I kind of see it in a different way. It's more like you're blasting
Inward.
deeper
Yeah.
into your own self. It's different. It's not like you're going somewhere else. It's more like you're just
Yeah, and I don't feel it's not like when I smoke weed or when I drink, I don't feel less in control of myself in the sense of like I don't feel like I lack facilities. Like when you smoke, you're slower. You don't. There's things that you feel like you probably couldn't do. When I'm on mushrooms, it's more of like a. I don't even know how you describe it. Besides, it shades life in like rose-colored glasses for me in a way where everything slows down and it almost puts me directly into the meditative state that takes me forever to get to, where it's like an absorption of reality and just a pure appreciation for being. It's a very interesting and light experience, but yeah.
It's peaceful. It's like you're in harmony with the whole world. The whole universe is weird.
Didn't seem like it was peaceful for you.
Yeah, it's at the end when you're going down, and it's just like, wow.
I had that bliss.
Huh.
So
I
it's
have
weird.
that bliss full through, like
Yeah.
from the beginning.
I'd say
I
it's
have that.
every trip's different.
Yeah,
though.
no, I would say, but I'm from the so far.
Mhm.
That is a universal so far. For
Like
me.
the average.
Yeah, my average is that, which I would imagine if I hadn't experienced it was more jarring like that, I would probably be slower to take the next dose, but I would still do it. But we would have to see once it happens. But
I was gonna say.
but I kind of think it's my same perspective on dreams. Like I want nightmares as much as I want good dreams because I like to journal my dreams, and I think the harshness of the dream doesn't negate the fact that each one of them you can gain something from. So there's some kind of what would you say, relationship between you and your subconscious and communication where that narrative, whatever the dream is that's being thrown at you, has significance. And I find that for me, the more disturbing dreams tend to be a more pointed realization or something akin to that. So yeah, but I would, like I said, you never know until you're in the place. But yeah,
You think there's truth to dreams?
me? Oh yeah, there's a bunch of they use it in psychology. They have people interpret their own dreams. It almost doesn't matter what the narrative is, but like because it comes from you specifically, your subconscious brain works something like 10 times more powerfully than your waking mind. So your dreaming mind, your mind is like 10 times more active at night. There's a bunch of things that you can watch on YouTube where it shows it like when people are asleep and when they go into REM sleep, their brain lights up.
Yeah.
You're using a lot of different parts of your brain. Anyways, but so they use that dream interpretation in psychology, but from what I got of it was a lot of it was like because you crafted it, it almost doesn't matter what the narrative is, but every time your dreams are a story, right? You kind of get that feeling like it's a story. You can place yourself into that. What would you say? Retroactively, when you're looking back on a dream that you journaled or whatever, and say, oh, okay, so that makes sense because I can draw that line to this part of my life and this part of my life. It's kind of a personally crafted mythology almost. So yeah, I think there's truth to dreams, not in the direct sense, but definitely you can gain a whole shit ton from them, and I would say there's truth to be found in them. Yeah.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Were you thinking more in the direct sense, like prophetical dreams, or like just were you saying just like in general? What I was wondering.
Just in general,
Yeah.
I don't know what prophetic is.
Prophetical, like it's a prophet, like it's a dream that's going to come true type of a thing. Is that what you meant by truth when you first asked, or were you just saying?
Oh, like if
Yeah.
it would be a reality.
Yeah,
Like if you've watched
Yeah.
Joseph, King of Dreams,
yeah,
that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
That show's such a banger.
It is
Okay.
way good.
Mhm.
Yeah, but yeah. So I think there is truth to dreams, just in what conceptual realm you're putting it in. I guess is what I was clarifying. Yeah.
Mhm.
But that also kind of like the nature of truth. It's kind of undefined in the sense that it's a word like love where it's used very broadly, and there's words that would be better descriptors in context, right? But there's a lot of those words we haven't made. So is a truth if you can use it and it interacts with the world the way that you expect. Is a truth if 2 + 2 = 4? That's true, but it's in mathematics, so it's kind of ethereal, and so yeah, there's a lot of things where truth is, what would you say?
Truth.
Yeah.
Factual. So I do find it interesting. You've said that you've always felt like there would be a war in our time.
Oh, yeah.
I
but
find that very interesting. How? Why? What?
Me, I don't know, and I would assume that this is actually something that happens with a lot of people, and I wouldn't put it too far outside of myself, for the reason of that being that it's always been talked about a lot in our families. But I've always had that kind of sneaking suspicion that there's something mounting because of the way that people comport themselves. If everyone's not taking right action, and it's just kind of the energy of the crowd and different things like that. Do you know what I mean? There's this Alan Watts saying that says, when everyone's talking about love, I board up my door and buy a shotgun. When everyone's talking about peace. Yeah.
Same thing, right?
Fair enough.
Huh.
But, yeah.
We're hitting
I don't
like
know,
the
just always had that
historical
impending feeling. But
length of empires too.
yeah.
Usually crash around this time.
Isn't it like 250 years?
Just over 200 years, yeah.
We're getting there.
We
not
are there.
Yeah.
But I also imagine that it's not something that would be too far of a, or too hard of a prediction just off of the basis of how often war happens for a multitude of reasons. I think generally speaking it's a profitable exchange between governments, but there are times where there's direct conflicts. But I think more generally speaking, there's a lot more cloak and dagger type things going on.
Conspiracy, man.
Yeah, and not even a conspiracy in the sense that it's happened so many times repetitively throughout history. It's like the people don't want war, but that actually doesn't matter. The governments don't really give a shit what the people want. Not in a cynical way, just generally speaking, a government is a self-contained entity, and it seeks for more power always.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not regulated, which it hasn't been. There's been a lot of bills and different things that have snuck through, especially in America, where we're losing more and more freedom as time passes. And I think it starts with kind of a slow build, right? Slowly pushing boundaries and then stopping and then pushing it harder and then harder and then harder. And then it seems like it was a gradual thing, so people don't often realize things that are happening if it's not abrupt, right?
Frog in boiling water. That one.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
no,
Yeah,
no, I know
they
what you're
slowly
talking
bring
about.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't realize that it's
Difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is 3 months. Yeah.
Not even at this point.
Yeah, not
Around
even. It's
couple
like a
days.
week now.
Yeah.
A day, yeah.
We're bringing those numbers down, getting more efficient.
Yeah, good work. Huh?
But yeah,
Interesting.
I think a lot of that came from upbringing, and then also just the statistical part of it, where obviously I wasn't hitting the books very hard, but it's something that's well known, how governments, what would you say, the cycle of governments and how they seek that, and it tends to hit when there's financial issues in a country. It tends to happen very, what would you say, what is that word,
Quickly.
opportunely.
Oh,
Yeah. It lines up very, very often.
Do you think the cycle's ever going to get broken? Because if history repeats itself, then it's going to keep doing the same thing.
Cycle broken in what sense? No more war ever?
Yeah.
Then there would have to be no conflict, and that's not in the books, so no.
It's not part of the rules.
Well, no, like legitimately, it's the way that people work. You have to interact with other people. There's this saying by Jordan Peterson. He says, or I guess this is just kind of a quote of him. He says, "You're going to get up in front of 1,000 people and not say something that offends one person. It's just the friction between people. I think it's just kind of in the nature of humans. But I think we could get to something closer oriented towards less of that. But I don't think that you'll ever have no conflict.
I don't think that's not what I meant, because like conflict will always be there. That's just how humans are.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's in our nature. But like, do you think we'll ever get to a point where we'll have governments that don't start wars for money, basically? Because like
in the common parlance of governments and what they actually are, especially now, or not that they've been anything different in the past, honestly, but no, for the express reason that there's always going to be an aggressing government. That, like, if one government is more aggressive, even if the other government's like, I'm not going to do war, but the other government is aggressive, they can take their whole thing. If you don't defend yourself, then do you know what I mean? There's that domino. If everyone's a pacifist, then it only takes one person with a stick to take the whole world over. So
the whole idea is to prepare yourself so heavily that nobody could touch you.
America
but
did
we're-
a fairly
start
decent
shit.
job.
I
up
would
until,
would
like, World
argue-
War I.
Not right. No, but
I would
America
argue
starts a lot of shit.
Yeah, but I'm saying up until World War One, they did a fairly decent job. Not great, but they did a lot better than most other countries.
Yeah, but I would
in my
argue
opinion.
I would argue that that's kind of been disproven in the sense that almost every government has a nuclear device at this point.
Yeah, that's what I said before World War One.
Oh yeah, fair. But yeah, that's what I
So,
was saying is in
stupid shit.
specifically like that with you carrying a big stick and speaking softly. That would only work if everyone else didn't have a big stick. So yeah, and I think of atomic warfare or atomic technology as like the apex of destruction. Like it's you literally click a button and you can delete cities. So that's the biggest stick, I would say.
So far.
So far.
That we know of.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird shit out there, but
I guess I'm talking about like different planets. Say like when we get to a point when we're traveling to
Interplanetary.
interplanetary. Do you think we're gonna set up shop the same way, start a whole civilization, and then there's gonna be factions?
it would
it's
be
gonna
like
war.
a one government type of a deal. There'd be a world government there, specifically because it would take a long time for there to be fractiousness. Because if we move to another planet, it will be so many generations before the growth there is big enough to facilitate a splitting of a government body. So
I bet it would be way faster than you think.
Yeah.
I
I
bet it
bet
would be
within
too.
years.
really,
There'd
The
be
minute they became self-sufficient, and they'd go there with the intention of being self-sufficient, they would split
oh
off.
well,
Because
they
what
would
are
go there
they
with
going to
the
do about
intention,
it? They're
but how long it actually takes to be
so
self-sufficient?
much faster than I think. Because if we're at the point where we can go to a different planet, there's no way we're not going to be prepared enough to be self-sufficient as quick as possible.
Well, as quick as possible, but there's still the issue of you going to another planet. It's not going to be terraformed in any sort of way. You're going to have that restraint on everything's going to have to be in an enclosed structure. So I think another thing that would negate that is if there is conflict, everyone could die instantly because
That's
someone
the
just
thing.
pokes a hole in the wall.
It'd be like a survival thing. You'd be trying to fight the planet for years and years and years. Not necessarily fight it, but understand it.
Yeah, but it takes one person to take control of that situation.
Yeah,
One person to say, I don't care.
yeah, that's
I'll
fair.
poke a hole.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then what are people a planet away going to do?
Oh, nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think it's unlikely. That I think there's a strive for a one world government. That even then, I don't think that you'd lack conflict though. And to have a government that's potent enough to cover the entire planet, it would have to be very heavy-handed, I think, in many ways. So yeah, I don't know. I doubt that you'll see the lack of conflict, at least in our lifetimes, in that way. I think you might see some semblance of people. And well, you already see this because the will of the people in the government is so incongruous that just about every government is having an issue. None of the Russians want that. None of the American people want it. And a lot of people are getting very chafed with their governments. I think that's also another trend. Once the people start getting a little bit rowdy and they're like, oh, you're doing fucked up stuff, all the politicians are like, you know what I heard? There's a war overseas. Yeah. But obviously it's not so cut and dry, and things are going to be a lot more, a lot more complicated, but I still think that's probably a fundamental part of it.
What do you think's gonna happen?
What do I think's going to happen with all that over there? I would be surprised if I would be genuinely surprised if one of the dominoes over there didn't kick off the next hoorah. You know what I mean? World War Trace. I don't. Obviously, that's nothing anyone wants. But I think if the governments had their will, there would be a lot of that.
They're having their will.
Oh yeah. No.
So do you think it will turn into a World War III?
I'd be well. I think it's what they want in some senses. Is a larger conflict in a way that they can still regulate. Do I think it's going to happen? I think I would be surprised if it didn't. I don't know time frames or anything or how it would start if it's not the conflict over there right now between Ukraine and Russia, but I'm sure there'll be some sort of weird thing because you have all of the opportunity and the gaps opening up for because everyone's looking at that. Then China will get uppity and take the things they want, and then everyone's doing some maneuvering, taking the things that they want. Whenever I think it's kind of like a blood in the water type of thing. One of the piranhas starts eating, and everyone's like, "Oh fuck, we can get what we need now, quick." Why no one's looking and everything's in a state of flux. So, but yeah, I think that is what probably will happen. If it didn't, I'd be so pleasantly surprised. But yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? Because you're a lot more into the political sphere than I am.
I think we're going to get involved. Well, I think it's going to turn into a hot conflict with America, without a doubt. Because we're already... Look at what's happening in Poland, for example.
What is happening?
We sent over... It's upwards of 100,000 troops, right?
I don't know. Haven't been keeping up on the news recently.
Either way, we've placed, I believe it's upwards of 100,000 troops, like NATO as a whole, along all of Russia's border. Not all of it, but the majority of it. And today Biden came out and said Russia is about to do mass cyber attacks on America. But fuck all that shit. I think there's going to be a false flag operation of some kind of just bullshit thing that's set up by America. And it's going to be an excuse to get us involved. 100% it's going to happen, without a doubt.
Yeah, I think governments do that a lot. They'll do some sort of atrocity in their own country and be like, "Oh my God, it's the Sand People."
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Done it since World War One.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully not, though.
Oh, fuck, I hope not. I honestly do. I really hope none of it happens, but yeah, I don't think it's likely that we'll be able to, unless you had some sort of the thing about the people is they're not coordinated, right? The people are a bunch of individuals. We don't coordinate ourselves very readily. The governments are very good at structure and coordination.
No, they're not.
In the sense of through force, they can get people to organize quickly.
The government's not good at anything.
No, that's true, but it's better than an unassembled group that has no structure.
Mm-hmm. Just saying they never do anything efficiently.
Oh, that's for sure. If the DMV was privatized, you'd go in there and they'd hand you a coffee right away and you'd be out in 5 minutes. It would be amazing. They'd be like baristas, "What can I do for you?" Instead, they're like, "Wait 30 minutes and then I'll tell you to go sit back down, you swine." But yeah. Yeah, so I guess that's that.
So, between now and your next 1 year follow up, we'll say, what can we expect to see from you? You talked about writing books.
You can expect
possibly travel.
You can expect at least 1 book and 3 more trips under my belt. And I would like 2 of those trips to be on a different substance than mushrooms. So you can expect that.
Acid.
I will not do acid.
Molly.
No. I like to keep more to the grown things, personally.
Natural shit.
Well, if you knew the origins of where it was coming from and how it was being made, there'd be a little bit more maneuverability for me, but even then...
The cartels, Jacob.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying if it was made in a completed like a enclosed lab environment and you knew exactly who was making it and they had the credentials and it was being made properly, then maybe, but even still, I don't
Credentials
think
given by who?
Yeah, I would think it would be something more akin to like an actual scientist who has some sort of PhD. Not that implies that they're the smartest and the best, but at least you could have some sort of modicum of understanding that it wasn't someone mixing it in their bathtub and cutting it with bleach. So.
Well, because there's a lot of fake acid out there. Like true LSD is from Morning Glory or something like that. It's from the flower. Mm-hmm.
Morning Glory is actually is a plant that's kind of rampant. It's all over the place.
I'm not sure if it's Morning Glory. I might have got that wrong, so don't take that for fact. But I know the actual LSD, like the first, it was derived from some sort of flower seed.
Fuck's sakes.
But yeah, that's what you can definitely expect from me. Outside of that, expect the unexpected.
Perhaps a child.
Nope, I'm good. For this following year, I'd say I'm good. Yeah.
Duly noted.
Fair enough.
That's not something I'm ready to jump into. And I would very much.
That's a large commitment.
Well, and I would like to be with someone for upwards of 2 years at the very least. So.
Just take it to the clinic if it gets too crazy.
Such a fucking cretin.
All right.
What did you learn about morning tree or whatever it was?
Morning
Trying to find this
glory.
dude.
Morning glory.
Yeah, I'm still trying to find it.
Well, Jacob, do you have anything to tell our listeners?
Any parting words?
Yeah.
Any parting words? I'll just pull a Nike on you. Just do it. If you have aspirations to something that you think will better your life, fuck all the noise. Try it out. I've been trying a lot of different, what would you say, spiritual practices and like psychological type of things, like philosophies out. Like I've been trial running them for each of them for like a week or two to a month, just hopping from different ones to see if there's anything in it that's useful. So yeah, just in life, if there's something that you want to do, fuck all the noise, just do it. So yeah, rock on.
It is morning glory.
It is morning glory. Okay.
Okay,
Anyway.
I'll grow some of that.
Cool.
All right.
Well,
Thanks for listening, guys.
yeah.
Like, subscribe, comment.
Thanks for having me on, guys. That was lit.
Thank you for coming.
We'll see you next time with our next guest.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Peace out.